Good morning, Bucknutters. Thursday, January 20th, good Lord, January. You can tell I've been doing this all week. Thursday, June 20th. I'm going blind, and J-U-N looks like J-A-N. For those of you who thought it was January, you're in luck. It's not. Thursday, January 20th, 2024. I'm Dan Rubin. This is the Bucknuts Morning 5 and Change. Bill Kurelic and Mark Porter coming up. The latest and greatest on recruiting. Very Ohio flavor today after yesterday's camp. But first, ladies and gentlemen, it's my pleasure to announce that smooth summer is officially upon us. When you're playing in the summer sun, make sure you're groomed from top to bottom. Thanks to our friends at Manscaped, you can make this season your smoothest yet. The Performance Package 5.0 Ultra is the ultimate bundle to keep your boys downstairs cool while looking hot. Join the 10 million men worldwide who trust Manscaped with our exclusive offer. Get 20% off plus free shipping when you go to manscaped.com and use code BUCKNUTS. Summertime and the trimming is easy. Get 20% off plus free shipping with the code BUCKNUTS at manscaped.com. That's 20% off, free shipping with the code Bucknuts at manscaped.com. It's smooth summer, boys. Get on board or get left behind. All right. Two guys who never get left behind. Bill Kurelic and Mark Porter. Gentlemen, thank you very much for joining us. Those of you who are watching the show live or clicking on the front of the site see a slide or a picture of Justin Hill making a tackle from this past season. Justin Hill was one of many Ohioans in the mix over the last few days. We're going to do an update on all these guys. Bill, let's take it from the top. I'm going to give you three names. I'm going to ask you to take it and run with it. And after each name, Mark, if you want to chip in with an evaluation, what you've heard lately or whatever, we can do it like that. Let's go with just the aforementioned Justin Hill, Trey McNutt, and Jake Cook.
Well, Justin Hill, good morning, Dietra, by the way. Justin Hill was at Ohio State on Tuesday. It was the team camp, the final camp of the summer for the Buckeyes. And he was playing linebacker, playing middle linebacker, really. Middle or will linebacker. You don't rush the passer in 7-on-7. So he was dropping into coverage and looking great as usual. In a break during the games, I talked to him and actually have a video interview with him on our site right now, if you want to check that out. He's going to wrap things up this weekend. He heads to Oregon for his official visit there. He is looking forward to it. He's already made official visits to Ohio State, USC, and Alabama. That Ohio State visit really knocked it out of the park. But I want to go back. When Ohio State showed up with all those coaches at Winton Woods High School, that left a very good impression on Justin. Absolutely. It was with Larry Johnson. He didn't know Larry Johnson was necessarily coming and hadn't spent a lot of time talking to him. He spent a lot of time talking to him between then and the official visit all. He really likes what Larry Johnson says about his ability to rush the passer in Ohio State's defense if he becomes a Buckeye. Jim Knowles loves him as his jack guy. James Laurinaitis loves him as his linebacker. So you got the three Ohio State coaches there telling him how he's going to use it. Tim Walton was there. It just left a great impression on him. I don't think he's going to end up at USC. I'm pretty certain that's not going to happen. I just don't see that happening. Alabama is still a factor. But I really think my feeling right now is that unless Oregon really turns his head somehow, some way, he's going to end up at Ohio State, is my opinion. But talking to some people close to him on Tuesday, Oregon's going to pull out the red carpet, do everything they can. So we'll see. So I'll let Mark take it up then with Justin.
You can take it from here, Mark. I think Oregon's probably going to roll out a green carpet, and I don't mean the color of their jerseys either. Take it, Mark.
Yeah. I've always been scary when you go to the campus of Nike or Under Armour and you see that, that school is paired with those things so tightly. We're going to see everything Bill talked about on this video. This is the eye in the sky we did. I'm sure this will rerun once he signs if he goes to Ohio State. But this is the night I saw him with Cincinnati Anderson. So some of these clips down here, they're ground level, are more just to give you an idea of his size and get a little closer to him than the overhead, where he looks like an ant sometimes. These are his highlights, and you see him going by tackles, and you see why the defensive end coach wants him or defensive line coach, and you see why the linebackers coaches wants him. He can do it all. When you can do it all like this kid can, it really makes your defense very hard to predict, and you can get into different fronts, and no one really knows what you're doing, which if you're an offensive play caller, you're dying for predictability out of a defense, and he is unpredictability personified, which is, boy, there's a couple players like that at Ohio State, Caleb Downs, and guys like that you can really do a lot with. Here you see him standing up in the middle, blitzing. If he came into Ohio State and you said he was Arvell Reese at middle linebacker, wouldn't shock me. If you said he turned into a Jack Sawyer at defensive end, wouldn't shock me. He has that type of diversity and skill package he brings to the table. In Ohio, he's a must-get for Ohio. Mm-hmm. It's you want to see these top guys, and especially the way they've recruited him, end up at home.
He's a werewolf, and I do not say that lightly. I also really look forward to the fact that if you got to figure – every single high school game he's playing in right now, he is the first, second, third, and fourth guy they're focused on. You put him on a defense with 10 other freaks, and you have to play him straight up. He's going to feel like he's got some space to run around a little bit. I think the sky is high for that dude, and I think we'd be surprised if he didn't end up at Ohio State. That would be a bummer. All right, next up, let's go with Trey McNutt.
One thing I want to say real quick, who else has that kind of video in their podcast? I would answer nobody. Mark does a great job of getting those videos ready and then breaking them down, and nobody but does it like that.
Are you allowed to use that Harbaugh, type of who has it better than us?
Who has it better than us?
As soon as you said that, I'm like, oh, the comments are about, because I've wanted to use that before, but I'm like, you just can't use that on this, the Bucknuts podcast. Yeah.
Believe me, I was not thinking about Harbaugh. I
can't. As it came out, it registered.
Say that.
Only Mark is a good way to say it. Shocker who came up with it.
Well, back to McNutt. He is going to make his trip to Oregon as well this weekend. In fact, talking to Trey this week and talking to Justin, and Justin's case in person this week, they both knew that the other one was going to be there, that the two Ohioans were going to be there together at Oregon. They're looking forward to kind of being out there and experiencing that official visit together. So they're very well aware of what's going on as far as their fellow Ohio star. I'm still saying this, like I've said before, it's anybody's guess where Trey McNutt is going to end up. The one positive, he's not going to and isn't going to make an official visit to Ohio State during this month of June. But the one, I guess, silver lining is that he continues to tell me he plans to make an official visit to Ohio State. So could that be at the little period at the end of the summer? Yeah, possibly. Could it be during the season? Possibly. But it also could mean if he does do that, like he says he's planning to, and that is his plan right now. But sometimes plans change. If he does do that, maybe Ohio State gets the last visit. He has brought up the possibility with me of that he's not wanting to rush into anything as far as a commitment. He says, though, that it's possible he could make a commitment sometime this summer. That's not out of the question, and then still take an official visit to Ohio State. So that is not off the table. But he also is thinking, well, I may very well just wait until the season to make my commitment. So we'll see what happens. Go ahead, Mark.
Yeah, Dan said, werewolf, unicorn, Sasquatch, Yeti, all these rare things you never see. And then when you do see him, you can put Trey McNutt in there. Watching him early on, and I got a chance to see him in Youngstown. He was a flag football player when he was younger in town and played with some kids I knew, and the respect for him was off the charts. And he's done nothing to, but blow that up since then. But why he's a unicorn is, for a while you thought he was a receiver, younger on. You're like, this kid can do it all. And you see in his receiving highlights, He's unbelievable. If Brian
Wow.
Hartline wanted him in those rooms, I know Bill went to see him live. We have a catch of him making a one-hander down the middle that's as good as any catch we saw this year, and Bill knows exactly what I'm talking about.
That was incredible.
Yeah, and on
play.
defense, he's the unicorn type because, not like Caleb Downs, but you see the physicality, so he's a tackler, but he's got corner skills. So if you wanted to play him at corner or line him up, you see what he can do, running for the ball. Is this the one-hander, Bill? But anyways.
I think the one-hander, was the first play. Go ahead.
Okay, yeah, so you can see the corner skills, the series at corner, pressed up man-to-man. The versatility of being able to do so many things and being able to do them at a top level. He has the speed to run with everybody, not afraid to stick his head in there. Play over the top safety, play in the box safety. Like you're saying, line him up. Him and Justin Hill on a defense, boy, the defensive coordinator's dreams come true. We can really hide things and use these guys. And there's matchups that present themselves. Hey, let's the other team just move their best receiver into the slot. We don't fundamentally have to change our defense. We can just roll McNutt down, instead of having to bring a corner inside or bring your best corner and flip them or follow guys. When you have players like this, you just line up in what you do, and you get to do it well and let these guys, make the money they should be making.
Yeah, I've been accused of being biased, given I'm the publisher of a site called Bucknuts. It's not called Buck Rational Observers, and I'm first in line there. A guy that good from Ohio who's got a relative who played at Ohio State, I pencil him in. If I'm wrong on that, so be it, and I'll continue to do so until proven otherwise, especially with Tim Walton. Eric Turnbull had a great point here. He's going to have to say no to Walton. That hasn't been the easiest thing to do for anybody. But this has been crazy. His recruitment's been nuts. Interesting. As long as it ends in the good spot, we'll be okay with it. And he is that good. Keep in mind, it's worth it for these other schools to come in and take a shot at this guy. If there's any chance I think they can get him out of Ohio, you should be doing that. So I can't besmirch the recruiting efforts elsewhere. All right, Jake Cook. Maybe not the name we expected to be talking about at this point, Bill, but of all three, might be the most likely to join the Buckeyes.
He, as we know now, and we knew this was coming, he decommitted from Louisville this week, and I put a story. I had it as one of the items in my What I Am Hearing column last night that he did an hour and 15-minute workout with Justin Fry as a center last Saturday. It's an interesting to tell you. He was at Ohio State's first team camp on June 12th. He came back with his team, but obviously 7-on-7, you only use offensive linemen. But he came back with his team because Justin Fry wanted to work him out that day. So Justin Fry did a private workout with him. He grabbed him during that team camp, not grabbed him, but took him out of the team camp, so to speak, watching it, and did a private workout with him for an hour and 15 minutes at center. Did not offer right away. They went then and had a talk with him. The staff did. And on Saturday, then the offer was extended to Jake Cook. He then announced that he was decommitting to Louisville, I believe, on Tuesday, I believe that was. It was kind of a no-brainer that I was going to immediately crystal ball him to Ohio State because he told me a week and a half, 2 weeks ago, whatever, he said, I'm either going to Louisville or Ohio State. it's those two. So I don't think he was decommitting in all likelihood to recommit back. It has happened before, I'll say that. But I've got him crystal ball to Ohio State. He will make his official visit this weekend and take it from there.
Mark, let's talk about Jake Cook. First, there's a historical precedent for this, and his name is Pat Elflein. We took a guy like that, and there was literally no reaction on the site. Usually when we get a commitment, we get a boost. There was nothing. And Elflein turned out to be a tremendous asset. He filled in, if anyone remembers, the Marcus Hall salute game. Elflein came in and was the highest graded lineman in that game on spot duty. Let us know about what we're getting here. Is this Pat Elflein redone? Is this Ohio bias? You give us the breakdown.
Yeah, I'm going back a couple plays because I really want to point out how he's getting up to these linebackers and how athletic he looks. Here's a great illustration of it here. He's going to go straight up to the middle linebacker. And that means he has the feet to run with athletes. And, of course, these aren't college linebackers, but there's a lot of clips here where you're going to see him pulling and running. Why am I pointing that out? There he is up on a linebacker again, is because centers are going to do that a lot. You know, I had friends that knew of him in 8th grade, and they said, Mark, this kid's going to be a big-time player, and they kind of predicted it then. And when he was coming out of 8th grade, he was almost too big. That's a great clip of him pulling and, you know, finishing a block there. And I like the excitement. And here's another thing I like about besides the feet. He's nasty. You're going to see his body language even there coming over to help his buddy, where he's one of those nasty guys that's going to punch you and fight you. And you can see the body language of toughness on this tape, where the finishing ability, how he runs a guy here, and then he even jumps on top of him. That type of attitude is what I like out of this. But as he changed his body, and I just saw someone said they're going to do it, they did the before and after photo. It's an amazing. He was the chubby, you know, freshman. His face was really puffy, and you know he was too big too soon. Yeah, the meanness and the toughness was all there, but boy, the work ethic and the transformation that has come, and yeah, to move him inside and play center and the Ohio guy, all those things add up to he's a take for us. And we've talked about him on and off. He burst on this scene as a young player because of the obvious size and because of the great tape, but it was he needs to reshape his body. Well, he must have read the message boards like a lot of these kids do, or even listen to what his coaches were probably telling him. Hey, you know, lean out. You'll be a better player for it. And you like this to tell this story, and you like to hear the story of a player who has done that. Local player down by Columbus, you know, makes a lot of sense for the Buckeyes. And you're right, Bill. He was duly tested. I mean, Coach Fry threw him in for extra reps the day we were there, and, you know, the extra workout. So they really looked long and hard at this. And I think the nastiness in this tape and that type of stuff, that body language, that's the stuff for me that puts it over the edge. I'd always take a kid in my program that had the fight mentality to him, because that's what he's going to need in there, especially at center.
Like I said, and Brass Tacks just said exactly what I wanted to say. I'm biased. I like the guys who kind of grew up and always wanted to be a Buckeye, and clearly this was his goal and he got it. So I don't think Jake Cook's going to be the kind of guy to rest on his laurels. You know what I'm saying? He's going to be an effort guy from the jump. You cannot have enough guys like that. And you cannot have enough joy mode guys. I think I speak for most men when I say we want to have better sex. I know I'm speaking for Bill. And for the sake of our partner, we may need to have better sex. No comment. The issue is that over-the-counter pills contain unregulated chemicals, suggest unsafe doses, and include the risk of several other health problems. That's why we've partnered with our friends at Joy Mode. Whether you're looking to spice up your intimate moments or increase your confidence in the bedroom, Joy Mode makes all natural and science-backed supplements dedicated to helping men perform better across their core functions. Their trademark product, the Sexual Performance Booster, is every man's solution for increased blood flow, stamina, and performance. Go to usejoymode.com/Bucknuts and get 20% off with code Bucknuts at checkout. That's 20% off and free shipping with the code Bucknuts at usejoymode.com/Bucknuts. Great sex solved naturally. Did that with a straight face pretty much. All right. I encourage everybody to be following Tavian St. Clair at the Elite 11. Yesterday's show, we had Andrew Ivins on live, 6 a.m. My guy was up, West Coast time, notwithstanding. And I'm telling you, those guys do a tremendous job. Cooper Patagna, Andrew Ivins, their recruiting show is excellent.
Tom Loy.
Tom Loy was handling the interviews there. There's a great Tom Loy interview with Tavian St. Clair. If you want to see a guy comfortable being interviewed, check out Tavian St. Clair. We're going back to the hyperbole. Dan is overhyping stuff. I'm having trouble with this guy because Tavian St. Clair, man, height, weight, development, and look, he looks like a male model. And I'm not saying that to be. I know I'm not the only one who's noticed that. Just was nervous to say it out loud. I was starting to think about this. If you were building a quarterback from the last quarterbacks you had at Ohio State, he's going to be as big as Terrell Pryor. Okay, he's like JT Barrett in an interview. He moves like, a combination of Fields and someone else. I don't know if he moves that well. The only question I really have is that does he have the elite arm strength that like Dwayne Haskins had, where flat-footed he could whip it to wherever he wanted. But I just can't get over how good he is. Bill, I'll let you have the floor here and then Mark after that. Am I overhyping this guy, or is this like, can you remember an Ohio quarterback, Bill, that at this point in time you were this high on?
Well, I think what says it all is he very well could be the number one player in the country in the near future. So that says it all. Deidre Sanchez weighed in there. Tavian is amazing. What else? All the hyperbole. He's the real deal. Absolutely no question.
When you see him at the Ohio State camp, the day he was there, they had a ton of dudes, guys with offers from all over the country. And you said it in that interview. You want to talk about a guy who's comfortable in front of a camera and, laid back? How about a guy who's comfortable with the best of the best, standing on all sides of him, coming for his job, trying to show off, and he's just as laid back and watching him warm up. I stood there with another college coach, and I said, okay, talk to me about this kid a little bit. And he's throwing you a sidearm, and he's throwing you one over the top, and he's kind of doing the no look while he's warming up. And he couldn't be any looser and more confident in his ability to complete a pass and to go first in every rep. And, the first guy in a drill, as they're teaching you a new drill, and I'm just kind of talking out loud with him, like, sometimes you're like, I'm not sure exactly how they want to do this. Ace the test, perfect spiral right on the spot, and then watch the rest of the guys fail, throw it left, throw it right. You see how polished and smooth he is. And, the comments I'm reading are right on. This kid is a man amongst boys. He is absolutely enormous. I don't know what's the matter with the C.J. Stroud comparison. He's big and strong like that, like you're saying, the Haskins. He has that Cardell Jones size to him, that imposing, Josh Allen and Justin Herbert type thing going on there. He's going to be his own brand, as we're throwing out comps and different players that he may or may not look like. Is it a Dante Culpepper? I don't know. So, a Cam Newton type, guy. His motion is so much better than those players. It's like in a different stratosphere how smooth he is compared to some of those motions. So I've seen a lot of comps, but he may have his own mold here when we're all said and done.
And a great family, too, by the way. Absolutely fantastic family.
You know what his younger brother's name is?
I do.
Rain. And not the stuff that comes down from the sky. R-E-I-G-N is in like a king's reign. You know what guts you got to be to name your kid Rain St. Clair? If he's not a private eye, that's one of the cooler names. Rain, man, that's awesome. So we could sit here and do this forever, and we will over the next few months and such. And then he gets to come to Ohio State. That's the best part of all is at the end, he's actually going to be our quarterback. Yada, yada. So
I have a little story. You talk about Tavian St. Clair mania. I had been fighting through the camps a little bit with plantar fasciitis. So I go to the physical therapist, and they said, well, after the session was over, they said, we got to ask you one question. Can't let you get out of here without asking you at least one question about high state recruiting. You know what the question was? Is Tavian St. Clair as great as everybody says he is? That was their question. I said yes.
Here's another great point, and I'll just leave it at this before we go. There's chatter out there. Andrew Ivins had this, that he's talked to all the regional camps and all the guys that did the evaluations. And there were certain guys that were at pretty much every camp. And those guys, as a group, said he was the most coachable and he was the nicest one of anyone they dealt with. And he has all the leverage. When you have all the leverage and you're the nicest guy and you just let it come to you, that's a true sign, by the way. The guy who's really, really the guy doesn't need to tell you because he knows, and so does everybody else. All right. Seriously, look at that even written out. Rain, rain, rain. Good Lord. All right, Bill, let's get to the guys who have decommitted elsewhere and have come up. Isaiah Gibson is a name on here. And I'm just going to run through a bunch of our questions here, and let's try and go rapid fire. But I know there were some decommitments. This is my guy. Any chance at Justice Terry or Isaiah Gibson? Could you give us a little intros to what's going on there and then how it could affect Ohio State.
When you talk about a bad 2 days for a school, USC has 2 5-star defensive linemen at the start of the day, and by the end of the day, a day or so later, they got neither one of them. That is a bad day. And I've been doing this a long time, but I don't really remember ever, it's probably happened, but I don't really recall it, that a guy on an official visit to a school announces he's decommitting from another school, which is exactly what Isaiah Gibson did. He, while on his official visit to Ohio State, announced he had decommitted from USC, and then shortly after that, Justice Terry. Now, the person asked, does Ohio State have a chance? Well, Isaiah Gibson is finishing up an official visit to Ohio State right now. To me, that says they've got a chance. I would not crystal ball predict that right now, but he's making an official visit that he finishes up. And by the way, we're going to talk about official visits in just a second here. Ohio State has 2 official visitors now. Jarquez Carter from Newberry, Florida, started his official visit on Tuesday, as did Isaiah Gibson. In fact, I know for a fact that Jarquez Carter was finishing up, getting towards the end of his official visit last night, having his dinner, so to speak, where they take the recruits out for a very nice dinner, all that kind of thing. I know he was doing that last night and finishing up his official visit to Ohio State today. So, of the 2, I think Justice Terry, I'd be pretty surprised if he doesn't stay in the South, most likely Georgia, but I think he'll stay in the South. Isaiah Gibson, we'll see what happens. Like I said, he's been on an official visit to Ohio State, so we'll see what happens.
Malik Autry scheduled to visit this weekend, Bill?
Well, let's go ahead. Do you want to get into the official visits
Let's
this weekend?
do that. Yeah.
Okay.
Let me preface that. Good job. Huge official visit weekend coming. Star-studded. The Sanchez's will be here. That's star-studded. Take it away here. Let's start with Malik Autry.
Well, he is making his official visit to Ohio State this weekend. The preview, so to speak, were the 2 defensive linemen visiting Ohio State Tuesday, Wednesday, finishing today, and Gibson and Jarquez Carter. And then you've got 2 great ones from Alabama making official visits this weekend. They are Malik Autry and Zion Grady. They're 5-star talents. They may be rated, I think they're rated as high 4 stars right now, maybe, but they are 5-star talents. They make their official visits to Ohio State this weekend. Still going to be tough to get Autry away from Auburn. He grew up in the shadow of that school, I think, within 20 minutes of it or whatever. He committed there early. They're going to do everything, and they are doing everything they can to keep him. But we'll see what happens when he makes his official visit to Ohio State this weekend. So you got those 2 making their visits. I'll go back. You've got 4 Ohio State commitments making their official visits, one of them being Tavian St. Clair. He makes his official visit, as does Devin Sanchez. You mentioned it, Dan. The Sanchez's will be in town this weekend. I know that they always love getting to Ohio State. You've got Naeem Offord, who is the other of the 2 top cornerbacks in the country, making an official visit to Ohio State this weekend. And then you got Nate Roberts, a tight end, who was at Ohio State's camp not long ago and did a weekend visit. This is his official visit this weekend. So you got the 4 commitments. You've got the 2 great defensive linemen. Of course, the headliner, because of Ohio State's needs and because he's not committed to anybody yet, is David Sanders Jr. Paris Johnson, again, I dispelled that rumor in my What I Am Hearing last night. Paris Johnson is not going to be in town this weekend. In town, I mean Columbus, Ohio. But David Sanders Jr. will. So that obviously is huge. Dorian Brew from now Texas, but previously from Clayton Northmont in Ohio, makes his official visit this weekend. And wouldn't it be great to get him in with the cornerback commitments? And he's being recruited as a corner, and that would make unbelievable haul if they can get him those corners that they would have with the Sanchez and Offord. But he's making his visit this weekend. I still think he could be a great safety if he would decide to go that way. You got Jordan Davidson, the running back from Mater Dei High School, making his official visit this weekend. Jake Cook, we've talked about him. The other Ohioan is Brody Lennon, who I think that there's a good chance that in the near future he will be a commitment to this class. We'll see, but he's making his official visit this weekend. You got linebacker Jaden Harmon making his official visit. He's an Alabama commitment. So we've got Malik Autry, an Auburn commitment, visiting this weekend. You got Jaden Harmon, an Alabama commitment, visiting this weekend. And I got to say, so we talk about the Saban factor leaving Alabama, and that has been a huge factor. But give DeBoer some credit. He's doing a pretty good job recruiting for Alabama. He's doing a pretty darn good job. And his commitment, Jaden Harmon, the linebacker, is visiting Ohio State this weekend. That's going to be a tough flip. Not an impossible one, but it's going to be a tough flip. In fact, Jaden Harmon told me earlier this week he was locked in with Alabama, but he wants to see more of Ohio State. He visited in late March and wants to take another look and see more. So we will see what happens. But again, I've got to give DeBoer a little bit credit of doing a pretty good job of recruiting in Alabama. Ohio State wants to get a will linebacker in this class really bad. The three guys are Riley Pettijohn. They would love to have. That still is not going to be easy getting him away from Texas. Owusa Boateng, Nathaniel Owusa Boateng. He's the other one. And then Jaden Harmon. If they could somehow pull out one of those three, it would be tremendous for this recruiting class. And by the way, that's 12 guys I think I named right there. We'll see what happens with Bodpegn Miller, the wide receiver that Ohio State offered earlier this week. In fact, they offered him while I was out on campus at that team camp. He's been trying to decide on visiting, make an official visit, trying to figure out what is going to happen this weekend, Boston College or Ohio State, official visit-wise.
Real quick, there was a question here about Rain St. Clair and is he a quarterback? Not only is he a quarterback, I believe, Bill, correct me if I'm wrong, he was the quarterback for Bell Fountain at the recent team camp because his brother was out at Manhattan Beach at the Elite 11. So, yes, he is a quarterback. I'm not familiar with how good he is yet. He just has the greatest name since Steel Chambers, those who pointed that out. Steel Chambers and Rain St. Clair could run a heck of a private eye firm, okay? They could be the next 007s. Those are killer names.
Yeah, Rain, as a freshman this year, will be Tavian's backup varsity quarterback.
There you have it.
So you hope nothing happens to Tavian as far as any injury or anything, but if he tweaks an ankle or whatever, Rain will likely, unless something changes, Rain will be taking over the reins of the Bell Fountain offense. If that
I have a sneaky sense that Bell Fountain will be up big in a few games this year, given their starting quarterback, so that the backup might get some quality snaps as well. All right. Let's finish here with the name you mentioned earlier, and I'd like you to try and mention it again, the guy from Ontario, because I cannot pronounce the first name. I know Mark has some knowledge of our guy here because you cannot have an Ohioan on here that Mark doesn't know. But, Bill, that was kind of a surprising offer. I'll admit I had never heard of the guy before he got it, and you sent me the picture to adjust it. Tell me about that offer, and then, Mark, you can kind of finish it off with your vibe on him.
Well, how he pronounces his name is Bodpegn. That's how it's spelled. Bodpegn is how he pronounces his first name. And back in October, I had an item in my column about him. In mid-October, I said, this is a guy to keep an eye on. He's a 6'4", 180-pound athlete that plays quarterback for Ontario High School in Mansfield, and is being recruited purely as a wide receiver. He's raw right now. He hasn't played even high school wide receiver, really. But he's a really talented kid. And he did come back, and he played on the house team for the 7-on-7 on Tuesday. Heartline watched and offered him a scholarship then. So again, he's not, if he were to end up at Ohio State, he's not going to come in and be Jeremiah Smith right away. He's got a lot of talent, and he's a guy to keep in mind. Like I said, back in October, I said, keep this guy in mind. And I think Mark has queued up the tape.
Yeah. Aaron Eckhart is the head coach last year at Ontario, and he sent me an email early in the season and said, Mark, you got to get out there. And if anyone knows who John McAllister is, he's another well-respected scout. He got out there in a hurry. That last run, when I first saw it, I was like, I don't think this kid's a quarterback, but that looked like Lamar Jackson a little bit. And I don't use the Lamar Jackson comparison lightly. When he takes off running, and you see it again here, he looks like one of those guys. So, to frame this as a wide receiver and, put him in that type of position, yeah, I could see how that's happening. He has a defensive highlight film, and we're not watching that right now. But look at that crowd of people just disappear. Look at that cut.
Oof.
Yeah, like you pay attention to this a little closer, and now you have some baseline times on him, and even that throw right there, the motion and delivery, whatever, there was some rocket juice to that ball. This is a very good athlete. So
Whoa,
I give
dude.
Ohio State, yeah. Like when I say that Lamar thing, maybe you're starting to see a little more where when he gets out
His
there,
0 to 60 is impressive.
and he's a 6'3" kid. He's long. This is a talented kid. And like I said, I was about to say there's a whole set of defensive highlights where if it didn't work out at receiver for Brian Hartline, send him over to the defensive side of the ball. We'll find an area, athletes with this size and this speed. And I love giving these kids from Ohio these chances. I'm the Ohio guy. I'm the advocate for all the Ohio players. Boy, this is one of those stories that they'll tell people, hey, you could be from Ontario in the middle of Ohio and not get anything really coming out of your junior year and have to wait for a camp. But here he goes again in the open field. I mean, some of those moves and cuts are pretty extraordinary. And you know what? A lot of MAC schools were on this kid really early, right when that
quarterback.
Yeah, at whatever they wanted to say. Maybe some of them said quarterback to get him there, but obviously what you're seeing right now is athletic, and give this kid a chance to develop. And it might be 2 years before he ever gets on a field somewhere, before he has the polish of route running and that type of stuff. But the raw underlying ability is definitely there.
Dan, I got a breaking news item here for you.
Like no other.
No, not a commitment, fans, but this is a pretty big deal. I just, if anyone saw my looking down right now, I just got a text from Tyler Atkinson, 6'2", 205-pound linebacker, who is a 5-star linebacker, class of 2026. He's the number 9 prospect in the country. Just now texted me. He said, Bill, I told you I would let you know. I'm going to be at Ohio State this weekend. So that is another big name coming to Ohio State this weekend. Tyler Atkinson, absolutely. You got all the offers. Ohio State, Georgia, Clemson, so on and so forth. Will be at Ohio State. Of course, it's an unofficial visit. He's a class of 2026 again, but that's a little news to break.
We know Team Sanchez will be there this weekend. No pressure. We just expect you to close Sanders and solidify offer. But look at this. I can't tell you if this is accurate or not, but if it is, everyone can sleep better. Anton Abram, my sons will be David Sanders' host this weekend. The Armstrong twins are his sons. No worries, Buckeye fans. So there you have it. We're getting David Sanders. It was a long, tough run, but we got him.
I was at the camp last week. I had my son, and one of the first things that happened to us when we walked into the WAC is the Sanders twins walked up to say hello. Well, 14-year-olds don't actually.
Armstrong.
Yeah. I mean, those two came up, and my 14-year-old, his jaw hit the floor. Yeah. They're both 325, 315 pounds, and they kind of got into their diet and 8,000 calories a day. It was probably the best two people to run into when you walk into that building for my son to meet and say, here's what Ohio State football is. Yeah, we came in at 285. We put on this weight, and they kind of detailed their workout schedule for a second. Those two look fantastic. They were awesome to talk to. I mean, all smiles and jokes and whatever. So talk about having, those two host you. As soon as they said that, I'm like, what a two-man combo. What a great two guys to hang out with. If one of them doesn't have something to say, the other one will. Like, constant entertainment, I think, for Sanders. So I think they're in good hands over the weekend.
Gentlemen, that's 40 minutes. That last 8 minutes, I'm not even going to charge everybody for. That was free. We appreciate these guys stopping by, and let's just be honest. There's a ton of stuff coming this weekend. Bill will be all over it. This is the place you got to stay locked into. We appreciate everybody stopping by. It was a robust chat today. Couldn't do it without you guys. Got some breaking news there at the end. Tremendous optimism. And like I said, be following that Elite 11 stuff. We have great coverage out there, and they're 3 hours behind, so you can get all of it. Hope everyone has a great day. Have a great one, Bucknutters.